Good morning, beautiful goddesses. Welcome to another episode of Soul Sister Adventures, number 31.
Yay!
31. And we have an unusual podcast today. We have felt a calling on our heart to share what might occur like an unpopular review of a movie that is taking over social media, the world, potentially your homes. So we're going to give a review. We're going to talk about, really move through all the spaces of the movie Barbie. I went and saw it. We'll dive into that in a second. And I would love to, bring on board my soul sister, Connie Rose, who is the first person I called the moment I got out of that movie. So, Miss Connie Rose, bring some light and intentionality to what we're creating here today for our listeners, to really, ground our bodies, open our hearts, expand our minds, so that it is a match for everything of who we are and what we're up to in the world. Will you?
Yeah, well, I just want to first acknowledge you for your courage for stepping out and saying something that is against maybe what's going on in the media. And really, it's out of our commitment that women, all people really, and mostly our audience is women, know who they are, whose they are, that their roar is required, that we are calling forth everyone to be their highest, greatest versions of themselves. And that is not what is portrayed in the media now. There's so much noise and delusion and confusion is what I say.
Yeah, 100%.
And yeah. And we are taking the opportunity to remind our listeners what we stand for. It may or may not be for you. This is where we're like planted our flag.
Yeah.
And Shannon, we talked about immediately right after you got out of the movie, you called and said, could you go watch the movie so we could have this conversation? And the more I heard, and we're both very intentional. The more I heard from you, the clearer I got is I didn't want my energy to be there. I didn't want to invest my time or my money into something that was going to not serve what's in alignment with what our commitment is. And so I made a unreasonable request and said, I don't want to go see the movie. And I still want to, I think we need to bring this to everyone's attention and use this platform for that. Without, like I said, I just don't want to be in that environment. We're both very intentional about the worlds we're creating and all the stuff. And so, anyway, so thank you for accepting my request and stepping out on the skinny branches, really.
Ooh. And today feels like a really skinny branch, right? So what happened was I was seeing on social media, right, all these women in the pink box with the pink clothes. I mean, they were making a full day of it. It looked like something right up my alley. I am like, and everybody's like, I love the movie. It's so empowering. And I'm like, Savannah, we got to go see this because, of course, it would be about women empowerment, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that was like the view in which I purchased a ticket and took my 17-year-old daughter to.
Yeah.
So we get in, we got our little popcorn, we even brought the pink blanket, right? And I was upset, disappointed that there was not a box in the movie theater that we went to. So we did not get that infamous picture.
But you wanted it.
And we did want it. Yeah, of course we wanted it.
Right. Before the movie.
Before the movie. So that's my question. That's like a first question I'd love to know from our listeners. Did you take that picture and post the picture before seeing the movie or after the movie? And I'd love to hear, like, what had you post the picture? Because my view of the box after watching the movie or during watching the movie was completely like I would never want a picture of myself in the box because I broke free of the box.
That's right.
Just saying. And no one is going to put me back in a box. Nobody's putting this Barbie.
No.
Back in the box.
Yeah.
Barbie does not belong in the box. So it all started off with, well, first and foremost, it is a PG-13 movie. And like, I wish that it would have said Barbie movie not for kids, like specifically.
Right.
My daughter, she's 17 now. Again, she is been grown in a home that is raised in a home, grown in a home, raised in a home of people committed to making a difference on the planet, enlightenment, conscious connection. We create our worlds create our reality. She also is going into nursing and she works at a daycare. So she is very in tune to little people, how they act, how they behave, what is impacting their environment. She actually is with babies and toddlers. And so she literally was like, Mom, do you hear all the kids in here? And I did not hear the kids in here because I'm not around kids. So I'm not like in tune to that. But she is. And she's like, Mom, these kids are in here. These kids are in here. These kids. It upset her that there were little kids. We're talking like little toddlers walking around inside the Barbie movie. So that's number one. I really wish that it would have been, that would have like just started off with, I don't want to say a little bit of integrity, but.
Right.
And it makes me wonder if it is a PG-13, what is a mom doing taking a little to a PG-13 movie?
Yeah. Well, assure you, there is no accidents with any of that.
Yeah. So then the movie starts off with, so we're going to do a little like play-by-play of what's happening. And then we're just going to talk about like each piece, right? So it starts off with these little girls on a cliff playing with dolls that were babies, right? So that's how kids play with babies. And then Barbie was born. So then there was this scene where the kids are literally smashing the babies' heads on the rocks, and then enters Barbie. Now, I will say that I really got a new view, a new perspective for like the immersion of Barbie and you play with Barbies. I play with Barbies too, but I want to hear about your Barbie experience. So it was like what was said, which really began to like open my mind, open my heart, was like Barbie was created and Barbie could be anything. And like she could be a doctor, she could be a lawyer, she could be, so that's like how it started. I'm like, okay, this is going to be great. So tell us about the Barbies that you grew up with.
Yeah, so I grew up with Barbie and Ken and Skipper and the cars and the dog and the house and all the clothes and all the things, right?
Yes.
And it was like, and I had a Barbie collection, and I had, I still have the Barbies in my basement and in storage. And like you said, she could be anything, right? So on one hand, there was like, you want to be like Barbie.
Yeah.
Which was the positive career, right?
Yeah.
And then there's also the image of Barbie, I'm going to say in quotes, perfection of Barbie.
Yeah, and they actually addressed that in the movie too, and I acknowledged them for that. That scene happened when Barbie went back into the real world and met up with this group. We'll get into that a little bit, but met up with this group of girls at a table, and they expressed exactly what I thought Barbie meant. And I think Barbie did a great job of dismantling those projections, or like that. She's like, that's not who I am. This is what I stand for. I stand for Barbie can be anything. So I was like, this is good. I love this. And I leaned over to Savannah and I'm like, I don't remember. Did you play with Barbies? Like, and she's like, no, Mom, I play with American Girl dolls. And I'm like, oh, okay. And we kind of had a short conversation about American Girl dolls. You want to talk about that?
Well, yeah. So my niece also, so I have a almost 13-year-old niece, and I remember, that's also what she was raised with. I don't know if she had Barbies or not, but I remember what a great role model like those American Girl dolls really are. And like she wanted the outfit that matched her outfit, and I remember looking for that, for her birthday one year, and it was the American Girl doll where it was like more age, like her age at the time, like age appropriate,
Yes.
same age,
Yes.
and historical. And it just to me was like, oh, this is a kind of like a up leveling
Yes.
of what we had.
Yes.
In great
An enlightened version.
an enlightened version of a girl's toy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and back to the girls who were smashing the baby dolls on the
That's
on the rock. So one of the like undertones of that question was that baby doll and a little girl playing with the baby had the girl be a mom. And in the movie, they were like, and that's not so much fun. Why don't you ask your mom? I mean, they really downed being a mom. And of course, you were the first person that came to my mind. And I'm like,
well, yeah, because my whole identity, which is not necessarily, I'm not saying that's necessarily a healthy thing either. And my, because of the infertility we went through and losing Hope Marie and then finally having Nicholas. And then, my whole identity from the time I was like, wanted to have a child at like 20, I'm going to say 25.
Yes.
Maybe earlier to up until like just, even now I still identify as a mom, even though my kids are in heaven.
Yes.
And best blessing on the planet, best blessing I've ever experienced. Right.
And same for me. Like,
and again, it's not for everyone.
Yes. Yes.
And bashing a baby's head on the rock seems kind of a harsh way to say you don't have to be a mom. I mean, I think, that's.
So in enters Barbie.
Yeah.
And then they move to the visuals of Barbie Land, right? Now that again was impressive. Savannah was like, how are they doing it? I mean, it was just visually beautiful. You got to see all the old houses that you played with, the cars and Ken and Barbie was in that scene, like successful, pampered. I mean, it was all the things you would want. So then there comes a scene where Barbie starts talking about having feelings of death. And I was like, huh? And it was pretty early in the movie. And I look over at Savannah and she's like, what's going on? I mean, my eyes were like this the whole entire time. I was just like, wow, right? And so she starts talking about these feelings of death. And so there's a part of this that I thought was cool. And I can also see Savannah's view, right? A 17-year-old's view. She was really disturbed by it. And I thought it was a little bit cool because the connection that they were making there is that however we treated our Barbies is how we were actually feeling about ourselves.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool because I think that's probably true.
Well, and I think that's the basis of like play therapy, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
So it's not just, it's whatever toy they're dealing with. And, in my generation, Barbies were good. Yeah.
Yes. And then, of course, they brought in Weird Barbie, which I thought was hilarious because that probably was my Barbie. She's got like, one leg up here and, her hair is all cut off and it's purple. And, so that was probably my Barbie.
Funny.
Oh, it was good. That was like funny, right? So and they leave you like hanging because you think it's a little girl, right? That's having these feelings of death. And I'm like, wow, where is this movie going, right? So Barbie goes into the real world. Her and Ken go on an adventure into the real world. And as soon as they get to the real world, Ken discovers that the real world is dominated by men. Like profusely dominated by men. So much that he goes on a learning journey to learn how to dominate women and take that back to Barbie Land.
Wow.
And what Savannah said to me is, I had no idea the world was that dominated by men.
Really?
And I said, well, your world is not, because we are teaching you and training you and surrounding you differently.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was like a Whoa. We were moving through some spaces here.
It's progress.
It is progress.
Yeah.
And so when Ken and Barbie get to the real world, they're of course they look like extravagant. So they look extravagant because they're really dolls in the real world, right? Like with the 70s, Jane Fonda. I think they're even roller skating. It's been a couple weeks since I've seen it. I've forgotten a few pieces, but they've been roller skating, right? And so then these construction workers start oogling and googling over the two of them and saying what normal construction workers say. I'm not saying all construction workers do, but it was an exaggerated moment of, what would you even call that, Connie, when?
Oh, like the cat calls and things like
Yes,
that.
yes. And then Barbie says something to the effect of, well, Ken and I do not have penises or vaginas. And I'm telling you what, I was like, what is happening inside this movie? And what's happening in the world that would have this be produced?
Yeah.
I mean, I was speechless.
Mm-hmm.
So carrying on, Barbie is in hunt for what we think is a little girl that was having these death thoughts. And so this is where the scene at the picnic table happens, and she dismantles who Barbie really is and what she stands for. And I thought that was beautiful. She's like, no, Barbie stands for freedom and for you could be anything. And Barbie is for making her own money and making her own views and her own visions and and I'm like, yes, where is that in this movie? Like, that's what I came here for. So then we end up finding out. So cliffhanger, if you haven't seen it and you don't want, or you're going to go see it, stop here because this will, change the movie for you. We end up finding out that the little girl was going to throw away the Barbies, and it was the mom that ended up getting the Barbies and started playing with the Barbies and was having thoughts of death.
Mm.
And actually the mom had a 1-minute talk, like a 1-minute speech back in Barbie Land. She ends up going back to Barbie Land to save all the Barbies. I'll get to that in a second, which I would say was the best part of the whole movie. But she was just stating the obvious of what women are here for. Like, women are here to be caretakers. Women are here to, protect their families. Women are here for, all these things. In fact, I saved the quote. I should read it to you. Let me get that.
Yeah, I would love it.
Yeah,
and what I want to say is our society, I think, my opinion, is that we have many women, strong women, have had to give up their femininity to be in this male dominated society.
Yes.
And I know so many powerful women who are in relationships where the male in the relationship, their partner, has taken on feminine energy because she's had masculine energy.
Yes.
And we are by nature, like, it's not, I don't think we've forgotten like what a gift femininity is.
Yes.
And I think as a society is making that a negative thing. And femininity is receiving and like you said, nurturing.
Yes.
Because that is by nature inherently what you said, what we're designed for.
Yes.
Not that that's the only thing we're designed for by any means.
Yes.
And why like villainize or put down the gifts that we were innately born with.
Right?
Instead of
the way God actually designed us.
Right. Instead of celebrating that, it's like, yeah. So I would love to hear the quote.
Well, I want to preface this, right? So first and foremost, so Barbie goes back into the real world. Ken learns from the real world how dominated it is, takes it back to Barbie Land, and literally brainwashes all of the Barbies and then trains the men to dominate the women to the point of the girls start being servants.
Oh,
and
wow.
They only come out in servant outfits, serving beer, serving this. And then Ken takes over all the Barbie houses and all the Kens. So all the boys are named Kens, all the girls are named Barbies. So that's a little confusing, but you get the point. Ken takes over Barbie Land, and it then becomes Ken Land. And then he shows up. So what is a phrase that women say all the time, or they struggle the most about? I am what?
Oh,
Enough.
not worthy or not enough.
I'm enough. I'm not enough, right? So new t-shirt that Ken is wearing, it's Ken enough, like Ken enough, Ken enough,
Ken enough.
Ken enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the shirt that he's wearing.
Yeah.
And I am like, there are so many subliminal messages and subliminal. They are putting it right there in front of your face to train you. And whoa, wake up, ladies. This is not an empowering movie. This is not what I wanted my mind, my body, my heart, my spirit, my daughter to absorb, because it was so not.
And good on you that you actually brought her so that we
can have this conversation
instead of her going with her girlfriends.
Oh my heavens, yes. And now she's gotten to have some empowering conversations with her friends and her cousins about her views about the movie, which thank you. If there's any gift that came out of it, it is that she is equipped and empowered to stand in her own view, her own training, her own enlightenment, her own journey to say, hey, I am not okay with this movie or what I saw. And that is not that is not the world I'm creating.
Yeah.
So back to the mom, and forgive me for not knowing her name. So now we're back in Barbie Land. The Kens have taken over. The Barbies have, Weird Barbie and the mom and the daughter and Barbie, like the real Barbie, conspire or get together, right, to I forget, they used a word that I wish I could remember. Basically unhypnotize all the Barbies from the trance that they were in. And how they do that is, guess what? By breathing life over them, by speaking life and love and reminding them who they are. Hello.
Yes.
And while this is all great, this was not the dominating theme of the movie. That's what upsets me so much. Like, this really could have been an empowering women movie. Right. And it's so not that. This was a little glimmers, right? So this is what the mom says. This is her rally that unhypnotizes the other Barbies. It is literally impossible to be a woman. You are so beautiful and so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough. Like, have I always been extraordinary? But somehow we're doing it wrong. You have been thin. You have been not too thin. You can never say what you want to be thin. You can never say what you want to be healthy. You also have to be thin. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. You have to be the boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids and all the damn time. You have to be a career woman, but you can't always look out for other people. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane. But if you point that out, you're accused of complaining. You're supposed to say pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much, or that you threaten other women because you're supposed to be a part of a sisterhood. But always stand out, always be grateful, but never forget that the system is rigged. So find a way to acknowledge that, but also be grateful. You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never fear, never get out of line. It's too hard. It's too contradictory. And nobody gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault. I'm just so tired of watching myself and every single other woman tie herself into knots so that people will like us. And if all that is so true for a doll just representing a woman, then I don't even know.
Wow. Wow. That's a lot.
That's a lot. So that was her speech that then began unhypnotizing the dolls. And as I'm reading that now, and I did not read it before this call, it's even not as empowering. I guess you had to have the whole movie to have that match. Interesting.
Yeah.
But basically, she's saying that the thoughts and the views of women is that we're not enough. We have to watch what we do and stuff ourselves down. And we know that that's what we're breaking free of.
Yes.
So then, oh, I forgot to tell you about the box. So back when Barbie and Ken, well, ended up, Ken went his own way in the real world, surprise. And then Barbie went her own way. So she went to Mattel. Oh my heavens. Shame on Mattel.
Yep.
So she walks into the boardroom of Mattel, and it is all men. And this is where Will Ferrell is the head, which actually he plays the perfect part because you had to be pretty
ridiculous
to be the head of Mattel. And then they had, so the inventor of Barbie now is this old lady, and I couldn't tell if she was dead or alive, but she was like stuffed in an apartment on some floor that didn't exist in the corporate world. I mean,
oh, that's creepy.
It was a little creepy. Yep. And so Barbie gets to meet her, and I don't know. I'm not sure about that part. So the whole point is when Barbie goes into the boardroom, and it is, I don't know how many, but let's just say 12 or 15 men around this U-shaped room. They were all like, "Oh, hi, Barbie. It's time for you to get back in the box." And then she's like, "Oh, I haven't been in the box. It's been so long I've been in the box, I don't remember." Because remember, Barbie was living her best life.
Yeah.
So I want you to get the box as a metaphor that is disgusting and beautiful that Barbie did not get back in the box. But for all you women who are posting the picture of you in Barbie's box, remember, the men in the boardroom wanted you to get back in that box.
Yeah.
18 years of corporate tax and accounting I spent in a cube, which is a box. And I get it's a prison of my own making. And it's a choice I did to myself. But I also, the choice that put me there unconsciously, because I was unconscious, and then it was conscious, and then it was unconscious, and then it was conscious, is also the me who got me out of the box.
That's right.
And that's what I want to activate in each of you today.
Yeah.
Get out of the freaking box. So that may or may not have been like the popular, our review may not be the popular review, right? Like your view of the box might be completely different. And I just really a calling on your heart to look and see, what are you unconsciously saying yes to? And is that in alignment with who you say you are and what you say you want?
Yeah.
And this goes back to, did you post the picture of you in the box before or after the movie? And maybe you reconsider. Maybe you'll post something different. I don't know. Your mind is precious. Your heart is precious. Your soul is so precious. And I'm really clear when I saw that moment of Barbie, like them for like they were really trying to get her back in the box. That was such raw symbolism for the call for freedom. You have to be in a constant pursuit for who you are and what you say you want. Otherwise, the world will take you out and put you in the box.
Exactly.
And put you back on the shelf. That's what they wanted to do, was put her up. That's what they said. We want to put you in the box and back on the shelf because you've gotten too bold, too self-expressed, too powerful, too rich, too happy, too successful, too delicious, too all the things. You've enjoyed too much pleasure.
Right.
You're just too happy. You've made too much of a difference. It's time for us to put you back on the shelf, in the box and on the shelf. So where was I? So Barbie goes back, back in Barbie land, rallied the girls, had the 1 minute, best part of the movie from the mom. And now that I read it, I'm not sure great that was the best, but I also got they were unhypnotizing the other Barbies. And then there was something that happened with the boys that I don't remember that part actually. I was so upset. I mean, really, so upset with this movie. And so at some point, so Barbie gets Barbie Land back. And that was weird. I'm just saying. And then there was this point when Barbie decides she wants to become real.
Mm.
So she no longer wants to be a doll. She wants to be real. And so it pans out to her getting out of the car of the mom and the daughter in front of this super big building in downtown city. And like in my mind, I'm thinking she's going to go back into Mattel and ask to be like the head whatever, because she can be anything, and take back this company that tried to put her in a box, like make a difference where she was born, I guess you would say, birthed, created, I'm not sure. And she gets out of the car, walks in the door, and walks up to a desk, and she says, get ready for this one. Sit down, ladies. If you're not sitting down already, pull your car over if you haven't seen this movie. I do not want you to have a wreck. She says, I'm here to see my gynecologist. And that is how the movie ends. There are so many ways this movie could have altered the world. There's so many ways it could have done good. And it was trash. It was absolute trash for my brain, my mind, my body, my daughter's future. And I am grateful that the gift we got to have now. And I hope in the heart of hearts that if you saw the movie and you loved it, that you could hear this in a new way and rethink about what had you loved the movie. And maybe you hung on to those few glimmers, that 1 minute from the mom, or the front part about how Barbie could be anything, or maybe you're just hanging on to your old childhood memories of what Barbie meant for you. That's awesome. That's great. But I challenge you. I am challenging you. Is your memories of when you were a kid and you played with Barbies and what Barbie represented then a depiction of what you saw in that movie?
And your life now.
And your life now, and what you want for your children.
Right.
And that is my unpopular view on Barbie.
Well, I just acknowledge you for the stand that you make for women, particularly, such that we could have this very frank conversation at the risk of, unpopular opinions, backlash, all the things.
Yeah. And I'm requesting not, right? I am really like, this podcast is enough service from me to you. I'm out to impact 1 billion women. And if we all saw the movie, and maybe, this was the other thing. Maybe you saw it and you didn't post about it and you're scared to post about it. Maybe you just now saw somebody who saw what you saw or heard what you heard. And I'm now like, you can go, there was something really wrong about that movie. Thank you, Shannon. Right? Like, I want to hear from you because you are our tribe.
Yeah.
Because it's not okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. Connie, you said something before the podcast about protecting our children. I'd love for you to.
Yeah. So last night I had a really interesting conversation with a friend of mine who lives in Florida, and it's a man, that we were talking about the status of our country. And, the movie that I saw this summer, the only movie I saw this summer was The Sound of Freedom. And it's really so clear to me. So I saw that movie, and then you saw this movie.
Right.
And what's going on in the media and how the media is coming after our children. And why are we not putting up some protection around our children so our children can be children and not have to grow up so fast in this hypersexualized environment that the media and the system is pushing down our throats? And you had said something so key. Maybe you were the one that saw the movie but didn't speak out because you didn't feel safe to do. And there's this, I get pressure as a story, I get that. And there is a environment that wants to suppress anyone's view that doesn't go along with the narrative.
Yes.
Like, we're supposed to be accepting, except when you say something, then you're not accepting. Like, listen to the agenda and follow our agenda. And it has been so pervasive, especially since 2020.
Yes.
And, we're grown ass women. What about our children?
Yes.
And that it is no accident that there were children in that movie theater.
Right.
Because while it was posted PG-13,
yeah,
and while they were probably with their parents,
yeah,
it was
just talking children. I'm not talking like 11, 12, 10. I am talking 4, 5, like.
Well, yeah, and we know birth to 7, what happens? Everything goes into the unconscious. It's totally, they're being imprinted.
Yep.
Like WTF.
Yep.
And when, as humanity, are we going to finally decide to protect our children?
I'm deciding now with the publishing of this podcast.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
There you have it, ladies. Like it, tag it, post it, share it, and get in the car or not.
Yeah, I say get in the car.
Love you.
Love you.